My sister said something to me that I'll never forget. "You can have a wedding anytime. This is my first baby." She said it casually, like she was choosing a brunch restaurant instead of deciding between two of the biggest days in our family. 6 weeks later, I walked down the aisle surrounded by empty chairs. My name is Adeline, I'm 28 years old, and the day I got married, only 7 people showed up. The rest of my family? They were at my sister's baby shower. But to understand how things got that bad, you need to go back a few months. In my family, everything revolved around my older sister, Colette. Our father had worked for decades as a bank manager, practical, structured, proud of stability. My mother was the perfect suburban host, always concerned with appearances. From the outside, we looked like the ideal family. Inside, the reality was simpler. Colette was the center of the universe. 5 years earlier, she married Brett Whitfield, the wealthy son of a commercial real estate developer. Suddenly, everything changed. Brett bought Colette a luxury SUV. He paid for my parents' kitchen renovation. He even helped cover the mortgage on their house. And just like that, my sister wasn't just loved, she was untouchable. Meanwhile, I was the younger daughter who illustrated children's books from a tiny rented studio apartment. My career didn't come with prestige or impressive income, but I loved what I did. And I loved a man I met 3 years ago at an art fair, Marcus Delaney. Marcus was a painter, a brilliant one. He created portraits and city scenes that seemed to glow with life. The art world saw his potential. My family saw someone who needed a real job. The first time Marcus met my family was Thanksgiving dinner. My father leaned across the table and asked him a question with a polite smile. "So, Marcus, when are you planning to get a real career?" My sister laughed. Her husband chuckled. Marcus simply squeezed my hand under the table. What none of them knew was that something important had already started happening behind the scenes. Our quiet landlord, Harold, had taken a deep interest in Marcus's work. He often watched Marcus paint and occasionally suggested tiny adjustments, things that somehow made the paintings even better. At the time, I assumed Harold was just an art lover. I had no idea he had once run a powerful gallery in New York, and I definitely didn't know he had already shown Marcus's work to someone very important. Back then, I was too busy planning my wedding. Marcus proposed to me on the floor of our studio one snowy night. No fancy ring, just a quiet question and a promise. We set a small wedding date in June, 42 guests, a simple garden ceremony, nothing extravagant, just love. But 3 weeks before the wedding, my aunt called me and asked a question that stopped my heart. "Are you going to Colette's baby shower or just your wedding?" That was the moment I realized something was terribly wrong, because the baby shower was scheduled on the exact same day, and somehow my entire family had already chosen which one they were attending, and the worst betrayal was still coming. When my aunt mentioned the baby shower, I thought she must be mistaken. There was no way my sister would schedule something on my wedding day. But when I called Colette, her voice was calm, almost rehearsed. "Oh my God, Addie," she said sweetly. "I didn't realize the venue was only available that day." Only available. My wedding was scheduled for 3 p.m. in Mystic. Her baby shower was noon in Greenwich, nearly 2 hours away. No one could attend both. She knew that. I knew that. Everyone knew that. But what hurt even more was what I discovered next. Colette had mailed her baby shower invitations 2 weeks before I sent my wedding invitations, which meant one thing: she knew exactly what she was doing. Then she said the sentence that still echoes in my mind. "This is my first baby. You can have a wedding anytime." I hung up and called my mother. Her response came with a long, heavy pause. "Well, your sister really needs family support right now." Support? For a party? over her daughter's wedding. I called my father next. He promised me something that meant everything. "I'll be there," he said. "I'll walk you down the aisle." I wanted to believe him, but the RSVPs started coming in. One by one, no, no, no. Out of 38 family members, 22 declined. Every single one was attending the baby shower. Then my best friend Rachel showed me something that made it worse. She had screenshots from the family group chat. Colette had personally called every relative and convinced them to attend her event instead. To my mother, she said, "If you miss the baby shower, it'll feel like you don't care about your first grandchild." To my father, she wrote something even worse. "Adeline will understand. She's used to disappointment." Reading those words felt like someone dropped ice in my chest. But the truth was even uglier. My sister didn't just control the family emotionally, she controlled them financially. Her husband was paying their mortgage, funding their lifestyle. No one wanted to upset the golden daughter, so they chose her. Marcus tried to comfort me. "We don't need them for this day to be real," he said. Maybe he was right, but there was one person I still hoped would show up: my father. The morning of the wedding, my phone rang. It was him. His voice sounded hollow. "Adeline, we can't make it. Colette's shower starts at noon." For 8 seconds, I said nothing. 8 seconds that seemed to replay my entire childhood. "You promised," I finally said. "I know," he replied softly, "but this is your sister's first baby." I hung up, and in that moment I realized something painful. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done begging. What I didn't know was that the most unexpected person in my life was about to step forward and change the entire meaning of that day. The garden venue in Mystic was beautiful. A quiet space behind a small inn overlooking the marsh. Marcus had built the wedding arch himself, using salvaged wood and fresh eucalyptus branches. 42 chairs were arranged neatly across the grass. From a distance, it looked like a perfect wedding scene. Up close, it looked like abandonment. 35 chairs were empty. 7 people had come. Marcus, Rachel, 2 of Marcus's artist friends, 2 college friends of mine, and Harold, our quiet landlord. That was it. 7 witnesses. Standing at the end of the aisle in my vintage lace dress, I felt every empty chair like a bruise. Rachel offered to walk me down the aisle. But before I could answer, I heard footsteps behind me. Slow. Steady. I turned. Harold stood there, wearing a navy suit I had never seen before. "I might be overdressed for a garden wedding," he said gently. Then he extended his arm. "But if you'd allow an old man the honor, I'd be happy to walk you down the aisle." My chest tightened instantly. My father had known me for 28 years. Harold had known me for 2. Yet he was the one standing there. "I know I don't have to," he said quietly, "but someone who values you should." So I took his arm, and together we walked down the aisle. The ceremony lasted 12 minutes. Marcus wrote his vows on a small piece of canvas. I wrote mine on the back of an illustration. We laughed. We cried. 7 people applauded. And somehow, despite everything, it felt real. After the ceremony, we held a tiny reception in the garden. No ballroom. No DJ. Just pizza, wine, and music from a portable speaker. For a moment, it felt perfect. Until curiosity got the better of me. I opened Instagram. My sister had posted photos from the baby shower. Pink decorations. Champagne glasses. Our entire family smiling together. The caption read, "Surrounded by love. Family is everything." I stared at the screen in disbelief. While I had been saying my vows, they were celebrating somewhere else. Not one message, not one congratulations, not even a simple sorry. That night, Marcus and I lay on the old couch in our studio apartment. He held my hand. "I wouldn't trade today for anything," he said. I tried to believe him, but I kept wondering if things would ever change. What I didn't know was that Marcus had been keeping a secret that would turn those empty chairs into something the entire world would soon see. And when my family finally realized what they had missed, it was already far too late. 2 weeks after our wedding, Harold invited Marcus and me upstairs for coffee. This wasn't unusual, but the box sitting on his kitchen table was. Inside were art catalogs, gallery brochures, and magazine clippings, all from Brenton Gallery in New York. Then Harold said something that stunned us. "I ran this gallery for 22 years. I stared at him. The quiet landlord who charged us cheap rent had once represented world-class artists, and he had been watching Marcus for months. "Your husband is extraordinary," Harold said calmly. Then he told us the truth. 6 months earlier, he had secretly sent photos of Marcus's paintings to a powerful private collector, a man named Victor Ashland. Victor immediately bought one painting for $85,000. My jaw nearly hit the floor. Marcus had kept it secret so the money wouldn't overshadow our wedding. But that was just the beginning. Victor had commissioned 12 new paintings, total contract value $450,000. On top of that, a prestigious Manhattan gallery wanted Marcus to hold a solo exhibition. Everything was changing overnight. But we told no one. Not my family, not a single relative. They still believed Marcus was a struggling artist. Then Victor called again with another surprise. He invited us to spend our honeymoon aboard his yacht in Monaco. 10 days, all expenses paid. At first I hesitated, but then I remembered the empty chairs at my wedding, the silence from my family, and the way they had treated Marcus. So we accepted. A month later, we stood on the deck of a massive yacht in the Mediterranean. The water was impossibly blue. The sky was endless. For the first time in my life, I felt like the world had finally noticed us. On the last evening of the trip, I posted a simple photo on Instagram. Marcus behind me on the yacht, the Monaco coastline in the distance. Caption: "Honeymoon with my husband. Grateful for the people who showed up." No drama, no explanation. Then I went to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, my phone was exploding with notifications. Calls, messages, voicemails. I counted them twice because I couldn't believe it. 417 messages. The same family that never texted me on my wedding day suddenly had a lot to say, and what they were about to learn next would shake their entire world. I sat on the bed scrolling through the messages. My father alone had called 23 times. His texts ranged from confusion to desperation. "Adeline, whose yacht is that? Call me back. I didn't realize Marcus was doing so well." My mother sent 18 messages. Suddenly, she wanted to celebrate. My sister's messages were the most revealing. "Wait, is Marcus actually successful? Call me. Adeline, we need to talk." The same people who ignored my wedding were now eager to reconnect. Even Brett, my sister's wealthy husband, sent a message asking about Marcus's gallery connections. I read every message. Then I answered none of them. Eventually, I sent one message in the family group chat. I explained the truth calmly. Marcus had signed a major art contract weeks earlier. The yacht belonged to his patron, and I made one thing clear. Their absence on my wedding day had hurt deeply. I needed space. Then I put my phone away again. Weeks later, Marcus's gallery exhibition opened in New York. The main painting in the show was called June 14th. It showed a garden, 42 white chairs, 7 filled with people, 35 empty. The painting sold for $120,000 before the show even opened, and suddenly everyone knew the story behind it. My family's reaction was chaos. My father finally admitted something painful. Maybe we should have gone to the wedding. But even then, no one said the simple words, "We were wrong." Meanwhile, life had its own irony waiting. My sister's husband's real estate company collapsed. Within months, they filed for bankruptcy. The same family who once ignored me was now quietly reaching out again. My father eventually called asking for help, and for the first time in my life, I didn't rush to save them. Because the girl who once begged for their attention no longer existed. Instead, I had something far more valuable: a husband who believed in me, a life we built together, and a lesson I'll never forget. The people who truly matter are the ones who show up when the chairs are empty.